Okay, welcome back. So we'll continue with the separation during food preparation. So first of all, actually we already discussed the steps involved during separate. So we'll move on to the next step during preparation, which is the cook. So cooking is very important and is one of the critical control point um, during the um, food processing. So most important thing is you want to cook to the right temperature and you want to hold hot food hot after cooking. So on your right, there is a very handful chart for the minimum cooking temperatures that you should reach when you are cooking different type of food. So of course, at home, you should get your food thermometers ready. So keep one or two. I usually keep a pair at home just in case if one broke down, you still got a spare one to use. So I want to spend some time with you going over this minimum cooking temperature chart. So on the top, you have ground beef, ground meat, and meat mixture. And there are different types. Whether it's beef, pork, veal, lamb, and they correspond to different internal temperature that should be reached to ensure proper cooking. So you will notice that whenever you're cooking chicken or turkey, you will require a higher temperature to make sure it's thoroughly cooked. So while the beef, pork, veal, lamb only need to be cooked until they reach internal temperature at 160 degrees Fahrenheit, for turkey, chicken, it will be 165 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're cooking fresh beef, veal, lamb, for example, if you feel like having a steak tonight with your family, then you should make sure the internal temperature reach 145 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're cooking chicken, rule of thumb, you always cook until the internal temperature reaches 165. So I usually remember this magic number, 165 degrees Fahrenheit, because it's the highest temperature that is required for chicken to be cooked thoroughly. So if I cook any food until it reaches an internal temperature of 165, I pretty much reaches all the minimum cooking temperature for all the other food items. So 165 is the number I want you to remember. And for pork and ham, so if it's fresh pork, including fresh ham, you cook until 165 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's processed ham, okay, so for example, if you're buying a processed ham package from superstore, or if you're buying processed pre-cooked sausages or hot dogs, make sure you cook them until 165 degrees Fahrenheit. In terms of eggs or any kind of egg dishes, make sure you cook the eggs until it's firmed. So that includes both the egg yolk and the egg white. It should be firm, not running eggs. And for all other egg dishes, for example, frittata or quiche, you cook until the temperature reaches 160 degrees Fahrenheit. For leftovers or casseroles, you want to reach a temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit. So these are the examples for different type of food. Okay, and this is just to recap on why we emphasize the right temperature. Why do we need to cook until the right temperature? Food is safely cooked when the internal temperature gets high enough to kill all the germs that can possibly make you sick. The only way to tell if the food is safely cooked is to use a food thermometer. Okay, not any thermometer. Okay, it has to be a food thermometer. You can't tell if the food is safely cooked by checking its color or the texture. So some people was like the question I asked for the quiz in the quiz. So once I cook the meat until it's no longer pink, does it mean it's well cooked? No, you can't. You can't judge um, the food by its color or texture to know whether or not it's safely cooked. So use the food thermometer at all the time and check the temperature for different food. So these are just the same information as I shown you in the previous chart. So I'm not going to repeat it. I just leave this here for your information. And the last step during food preparation is called chill. So you want to make sure that you set up your refrigerator so the temperature remains at 4 degrees Celsius or below. Okay, but not too cold. That way, everything you throw in the refrigerator will become frozen. Then in that case, you no longer have a refrigerator, you just have a fridge. So make sure, even though we say keep the refrigerator temperature lower than 4 degrees Celsius, but you don't want to set it to below 0 degrees Celsius. That's too cold. Make sure you refrigerate all the perishable food within 2 hours. And if the outdoor information, so for example, if you are buying something from the grocery store and you're walking home, okay, and it's a very hot day, like in the summertime, then you want to make sure that you want to refrigerate these food within 1 hour. If the outdoor temperature is higher than 32 degrees Celsius. Next, you want to thaw frozen food safely in the refrigerator. So you either put frozen food in the refrigerator to thaw the food, or you put it in the cold water or in the microwave to defrost them. Never thaw foods on the counter. Okay, I'll say that one more time because it's important. Never thaw food on the counter. So basically, don't leave food in the room temperature for defrosting. Okay, because bacteria can grow in that temperature. Remember the danger zone we talked about at the early slides. So the danger zone is referring to 5 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius. So make sure don't keep your food in this danger zone because bacteria can grow rapidly within this temperature range. Now we just finished talking about preparing the food, and it's time to serve the delicious dishes that you prepare for your family. So that's look at what's required during the serving step. Okay, so when the food is ready, we're ready to serve. Couple of things I will want you to bear in mind. First of all, like we mentioned earlier, you always want to keep your hot food hot, so at least at minimum 60 degrees Celsius or warmer. Okay, this rule is followed by all the restaurants. For example, at a buffet, if you're going to a restaurant for a buffet, you will notice that they usually have a hot stove to keep their hot dishes warm. So those dishes never left in room temperature. So they usually cover it up and they apply heat to it to make sure it stays warm. And on the other hand, you want to make sure that your cold food is being held at 4 degrees Celsius or colder. So for example, milk, if you are serving milk at this time, you want to keep them cold. If you're serving yogurt, same thing. And if you're serving ice cream, definitely you will need a much colder temperature to make sure it doesn't melt. For perishable food, it should not be left in room temperature for more than 2 hours. And if the leftover is being left out in outdoor situation, then it should not be stay in that kind of temperature for more than 1 hour. If you're not sure, just throw them out. If you're not sure about how long this food has been in room temperature, throw it away, don't eat it. One example I want to share with you guys is that sometimes seniors can be a little bit stubborn about storing food or when is the time to throw out food. They think as long as the food doesn't smell or the appearance looks all right, they think the food has not gone bad and they shouldn't throw it away. However, just to be on the safer side, if you're not sure about how long this food has been left outside without refrigeration, then just throw it away because it's not worth to get food poisoning. Leftovers. So we are facing with a lot of leftovers these days because people are busy. We never cook just for one meal. We always cook more food so we can save it for our next meal. So it's very important to properly handle your leftovers so when you eat them the next day or for the next meal, they stay fresh and without contamination with the bacteria. So rule number one regarding leftover is you want to discard any food left out at room temperature for more than 2 hours, like I said, and one hour if the temperature was higher. And number two, you want to place food into a shallow container and immediately put it in the refrigerator or freezer. Of course, it's not really environmental friendly to always use styrofoam or plastic container. So we usually recommend for the public to use glass container to pack food away. So always bring your own container from home or carry your own container to the restaurant. So in case you got leftover you want to take home, you don't have to use a plastic container. That way we can save the environment. And you can also get some discount from bringing your own container. The third point is use cooked leftovers within 4 days. So refrigerator is not a magic tool. It doesn't give food eternal life. Okay, a lot of people think as long as I put food in the refrigerator, it can store for a long time. Okay, that piece of thinking is incorrect. So any leftovers should be consumed ASAP. Okay, and the longest you can keep the leftover food is within 4 days. And for me, I usually keep it for even less than that. I keep it for 3 days just to be on the safe side because I got younger kids at home and I can't afford getting sick. So make sure throw the food away after 4 days. So always clean your refrigerator. And the very last point regarding leftover is you want every time before you consume the leftovers, you should always reheat them to at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 74 degrees Celsius. just so that way we can try to eliminate the bacteria that's grow within the food. So reheating is very important. And next, we'll discuss about how to prevent food poisoning. So I think this is the most important piece of information of this entire presentation is, so we learned so much about food preparation, from receiving to serving, and from food preparation and storing the food. So what exactly should we know about how to prevent food poisoning? So we'll introduce those concepts in the later slides. So I think this diagram illustrates the concept very well. So we'll start from the very left. We'll go clockwise, going from left to the right. The steps are involved for preventing foodborne illness is you check. So check, clean, separate, cook, chill, and throw away. So six steps involved. So we'll go through each of them individually. So first of all, check. So what shall we check? You check to be sure that the fresh fruits and vegetables you're buying are not bruised or damaged. So check the fruits and vegetables from side to side, back and forth, front and back, side to side. Check your vegetables and fruits. Do not buy any freshly cut items that are not refrigerated. So I'll give you an example. If you like to buy fruits that are already cut, for example, cantaloupes, watermelon, pineapple, these kind of tropical fruit, usually they will cut off the skin, and you want to make sure once they are being cut and put in a plastic container, they should be refrigerated under 5 degrees Celsius. They shouldn't be left in room temperature, because that way bacteria can grow quickly in that environment. So make sure they have to be in the refrigerated section. So freshly cut fruits. The second step, clean. Clean is referring to washing hands with warm water and soap for at least 40 seconds before and after handling fresh fruits and vegetables, and as well as after you use the toilet. You make sure you want to rinse your fresh fruits under running water, okay? Not still water, running tap water. Never use detergent or bleach to wash fruits and vegetables, because if you don't wash them thoroughly, you may have detergents or soap that's being left on the vegetables itself. And when you eat it, that way you're actually consuming the chemicals found in the detergent, the harmful materials found in the detergent or the soap. And next is cook. So you want to make sure you cook your food thoroughly. Avoid eating undercooked food. So don't eat. So when you go out and order steak, for example, a lot of time we'll order something like, oh, I want a medium rare, I want it rare, or but never well done. But when you are eating, just remember, when you're eating undercooked meat, you're always taking a chance for getting food poisoning, okay? Because you never know if that piece of steak is contaminated already contaminated with certain bacteria, without proper cooking, there's no way you can destroy the bacteria that's found in the beef. And once you eat them, chances are you may get sick from it. And maybe you will need to take a couple of days off from work. So whenever you are eating undercooked meat, undercooked eggs, or raw food, just give it a second thought and make sure it's worth doing so. And the fourth step is separate. So you want to make sure you separate the fresh fruits and vegetables from household chemicals, for example, detergents, bleach, and you also separate fresh fruits and vegetables from raw food like your meat, poultry, seafood. So separation is very important to avoid cross-contamination. The next in the preventing food poisoning cycle is the chill part. So you want to make sure you refrigerated all cut, peel, or cooked fresh fruits and vegetables within 2 hours. Okay, so you need to chill refrigerated food within 2 hours, and throw away any damaged, bruised vegetables, or if they already touch the raw meat, seafood, poultry, then throw them away, because the touching will cause contamination. So when in doubt, make sure you throw them away. Okay. And the most importantly, I want you to remember this thermometer by heart if you can. And the reason I'm saying so is because remembering the danger zone will help you to prevent so many food poisoning incidents. So let's just quickly review the thermometer for food safety. First of all, avoid putting any food in the danger zone. Okay, so no food should be kept within 4 to 60 degrees Celsius, because bacteria can multiply rapidly within this temperature range. And in terms of storage, you want to make sure that you store and thaw your food at 4 degrees Celsius or below. Most of the bacteria will survive at 4 degrees Celsius within this 0 to 4 degrees Celsius, but they will not multiply rapidly. And if you keep the food at between 0 degrees Celsius to negative 18 degrees Celsius, most bacteria will survive, but they won't grow. However, if you keep your food if you freeze your food or keep them under negative 18 degrees Celsius for storage, it's pretty safe. Your food is considered pretty safe at this temperature. And in terms of cooking, you want to make sure that you cook your food until 165 degree Fahrenheit for your chicken, okay, and then higher temperature if needed. 100 degrees Celsius pretty much kill all bacteria. So if it's possible, make sure it's higher temperature is usually the better. And you want to keep hot food hot and cold food cold. That's the bottom line. Okay, now we'll take a short break before we move on to look at the answers for our quiz. So we'll come back later.